Happy Saturday and welcome to the Ramashram Satsang Weekend Workshop, where you will learn a modern Satsang method for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. My name is Shivangi and I will be introducing the facilitator for today's event. But first, I would like to give you a brief overview to this Satsang session. If you direct your attention to the screen, you will see that the first element is Satsang. Satsang is a scientific method whereby we may obtain peace, light, and love in our lives. It requires no physical skill, spiritual accomplishment, or meditation experience to begin this practice. Satsang consists of two words, Sat and Sang. Sat means positive energy, and Sang means to be with or to be in the presence of. Therefore, the word Satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important part of Satsang. When we meditate, our consciousness is drawn from worldly objects and directed inward to focus on a single thought. In doing so, our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure, leading us to higher states of consciousness such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. Inner orientation. There are two types of satsangs, inner satsang and outer satsang. An example of outer satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. When we practice outer satsang, we have the potential to change our behavior. But it is only through the practice of inner satsang can we obtain higher states of consciousness such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. This is the type of satsang we will learn today, where we meditate in silence. Group sessions. These weekend workshops are structured for group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is improved and our personal progress along our spiritual path is expedited. By regularly attending these weekend workshops, the benefits of group participation are amplified. Joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul, but it is only through the practice of inner satsang can we obtain a joyous state. Each time we practice satsang, our inner happiness gradually increases, ultimately culminating in joy that we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Next, the agenda for today's session consists of three parts: the informative session, the practice session, and the interactive session. During the informative session, a lecture will be given about a satsang topic, our founder, or some relevant spiritual topic. During the practice session, instructions on how to meditate will be given, followed by a brief period of practice. During the interactive session, you will have the opportunity to ask questions or there will be a panel discussion. And now, I would like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of satsang experience. He is the grandson of Guru Maharaj, the founder of Ramashram Satsang Mathura. He was born into a satsang family where he witnessed his family members obtaining states of enlightenment and live lives of peace, light, and love. At an early age, he began traveling with the mission throughout India, facilitating satsangs. During that time, he witnessed the positive effects that satsang could have on mankind. Upon arriving in the United States, both he and his wife continue to facilitate satsangs for local satsangis. He has led teams of satsang members in translating important satsang literature into English and has worked tirelessly to make satsang more accessible to Western and English-speaking audiences. He currently travels throughout the United States, India, and England, facilitating satsangs while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Today, he will teach us a rare and ancient form of satsang as taught by our Guru Maharaj. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
Thank you. Sorry about some of the technical difficulties this morning. And those who are new here, welcome. As Shivangi just mentioned, and thank you, Shivangi, for the intro. We will shortly start practicing this unique method that centers us and takes us to the higher ground effortlessly. So before we practice, I usually just take a topic and just food for thought. So today, for some reason, we recently talked about unblocking ourselves, and we also talked a little bit about no resistance, an internal state where the energy flows effortlessly. And that, the more I thought about it, is like there is so much happening that we ought to resist. And then we're talking about no resistance. For all week, this was, in the backdrop that what is appropriate resistance versus what is this state of no resistance. I think when we differentiate, like Shivangi just mentioned, that inner satsang and outer satsang. So, I sometimes go to these kirtans and chanting, and there's so much music, but inner satsang is to bring that state inside where I am so blissful, joyful, that I don't need that external support to be in that state of bliss. There are things that we ought to resist: temptation, abuse of power, exploitation, manipulation, tyranny. But then if we think about our own mental blocks, and I have personally, if I rewind, school, college, there were like so much internal mental blocks through meditation, through guidance, through learning. As you grow, as you mature, I think you grow through these mental blocks. So stopping to fight internally, and that, I think, is what we are talking about here. So there are two kinds of resistance: the one that hurts and the one that helps. So the inner resistance is the draining kind. This is the mental fight, rumination, resentment, and this shouldn't be happening, replaying, and all that. But then there is, a no that protects your values, resisting temptation, abuse, corruption, injustice, etc. So if we go back to the inner resistance aspect, I think there was something I had talked about, that inner resistance drains your energy. And actually, before we even talk about that, I was reading a book, and what it was talking about was that there are moments in meditation in our lives when clarity reigns, and it's just, things that were not clear become so clear. The energy flow, even like thoughts are aligned as though with the universe, and that's the state of no resistance, where the clarity, the purpose, the ability to make the right decisions have all come together in a very, and I don't think that these states remain always or are very common. But then, so when the body shifts into fight, flight, freeze mode, or when the mind narrows, when threat is high, the nuances disappear, rumination loops intensify. So inner resistance consumes energy because it keeps your nervous system on. And, when some of this shifts, you can feel it. I mean, you don't have to, it's something that's very personal to us. Very, very quickly, we can realize, the state of no resistance or less resistance even. Then, to me, I think in spiritual journey, every question that we get stuck in becomes a mental block. That's how early on I thought about it. But then there is, a control block. I need to know how this ends. Identity block. If this happens, what does this say about me? No inner resistance remembers that I'm bigger than that, and I can rise above some of those feelings. Talking about feelings, the emotional block. I shouldn't be, feeling like this. So anyway, so going to so basically, if we think about a higher state where energy is flowing effortlessly through practice, we could come to a point where life may remain noisy, people still may remain unpredictable, circumstances may still remain imperfect, but yet you can become quiet inside. And that I have seen this practice, especially the leaders in this practice, could live that way. So there was another TED talk I was listening to, when you are fighting the current and going up the river, up the stream, versus down the stream, very different. Then as I was listening, I was thinking, you can't be doing either or. I mean, there are times when you have to do both, but when you are flowing with the stream, it's effortless, right? So aligning, our energies and flowing in this effortless mode is just, priceless. So no inner resistance is not the absence of life's challenges. It's the absence of inner struggle against life's challenges. So on that note, let's get into the practice, and then we will open up as usual for sharing thoughts, comments, and questions after the meditation. So inward focus is the first step. Concentration, I'll talk about that, and then go into deep meditation. And for some point in, or some period of time, we would like to be in deep silent meditation on transcendental energy in full flight. So so inward orientation, we're looking inwards. To do that, we have to make sure that our concentration is not disturbed. To do that, eyes lightly closed, and still and relaxed posture. So these three things are very important. Eyes lightly closed, so the sensory input that's distracting our mind, minimize that. Every time the body moves, the mind moves with it. So we want to minimize that. Any strain in the body would take the tension there. So any comfortable posture, still and comfortable posture, eyes lightly closed. And now, to come to a focused, concentrated state of mind, if we do mindfulness, mantras, and chanting, anything else, we can do before or after. But right now, just feel the presence of this transcendental energy in form of light right here, right now. Not a distant, a conscious source of this energy is present in front of us, and that light is entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming the light. We are getting completely and totally immersed in this light. So the idea is to feel the presence, and then observe this light to be entering your heart, enlightening it, and then distributing throughout the body, and that you're completely getting immersed in this light. So mind will wander away, which it will, because that's how naturally this would happen. So as soon as you realize, so we are not doing anything. So it takes a little bit to get to that. So music helps. So we will start with music. So that helps concentration. But the idea is to just observe this transcendental energy in form of light that's entering your heart, distributing throughout your body, and you're getting completely and totally immersed in it. Mind wanders away, just bring it back to this. So we'll start with music, then music fades away. We go into deep silent meditation, and then we transition out of the silent meditation with music again. So let's start now. Happy Saturday, everyone. Glad that we are here in Satsang. This is your time. So just anything that you want to share, comments, questions, thoughts, and so before I open up, Tom, Steph, anything that you would like to talk about, questions?
Hi,
Hey,
Satsang.
Tom. Hello.
So I had a question about transcendental meditation, how this varies from that. If it's just about sound or if it's a different method of meditation in another way.
So it is different. Here, rather than sound, we are looking at this transcendental energy in form of light. So we are concentrating on transcendental light, which and also it's like we're trying to embody, manifest, or meditate on the heart center with this transcendental light. So this method, unlike some of the other methods, it just keeps you very centered, very grounded, humble. A lot of the sounds and other lights that you would see in other systems as you grow through the chakras, and that would not necessarily happen here.
Yeah.
But it is still, very simple, effective, and deep method. And because throughout, I was born in this, my grandfather, established the nonprofit in India, which started doing, so lots of books, monthly journal, annual events in various places. And I saw the results, and I felt that the leaders had a very uncommon state, quote unquote. So said I should share with other people. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you try it.
Yeah. So how do you grow through the chakras? Is that really just the process of awakening, or the more you meditate, the deeper that you go, I guess?
Yeah, I would say vertical ascent, the higher you go and deeper,
Yeah.
in inner terms. So here, unlike some of the other systems, the progress is not as clearly visible. However, there are two things I have heard from my grandfather and several other people who've followed him and moved this forward. One, you will instantly start seeing the calmness, and higher states sometimes, and not necessarily all the time, but you will observe higher inner happiness or joy or bliss, which unfortunately, with everything that's going on, doesn't stay very consistent, but slowly it grows deeper, more consistent, etc. But so two things. One is the behavior. So the behavioral changes, and in terms of how you regulate emotions, how you feel all the time, this inner happiness, which is not connected to anything necessarily material. You just feel better. So that's one thing. And so I think inner happiness on one end, if that's growing and your behavior is getting better, that's you have to measure that.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, thanks for that.
Sure. Thank you for asking. It's I always say that when there is conversation, we exchange notes, and it just helps everyone in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting to hear everything you were saying at the start.
Yeah, it's a very I think it's almost very, very difficult to achieve free flow internally, and thinking like where the energy, when can I really make decisions that are just so cut and dry and simple and fast, because I have clarity, I have this my purpose is clear and all that. But I mean, I definitely feel that as we grow to the higher realms, even their hard decisions, gets the inner resistance starts to give in.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, sometimes I find it hard if I'm to trust intuition versus what my mind is saying. And sometimes it's easier to tell. And sometimes I've made decisions listening to my mind, but in my gut, I knew I should have done something differently. And then that turns out to be the wrong decision. So it's hard to see that, I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking about this Power of Focus book written by three of the folks who also wrote the Chicken Soup series. So they talk about the various levels at which we can be operating from. And one thing they highlighted was intuition is very, almost, if we are not able to hear clearly at the lower stage, and it gets clearer and clearer as we move up. I've been talking about this 7-volume book that my grandfather wrote, 28 chapters. So he documents that it's very hard, as you're saying, very hard to differentiate when the inner voice is the higher voice versus just our mind, the chatter of the mind itself.
Yeah.
Very hard to differentiate.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that this kind of thing will help to make that clearer, really.
Yeah, we all hope that the inner voice. So I also see that a lot of the practitioners, when I talk to them, there is there is a negative inner voice that we have developed, and it's just counters every step we take. And so it's like almost, somebody who is critical of ourselves lives within us. And that comes in the way. That's another inner resistance. And what I find interestingly, in some cases, rather than the intuition or the conscience, inner conscience, getting louder and clearer and more audible to us, the energy that we gain through meditation, concentration, all that, actually feeds that other inner voice. So interestingly, what you are raising a point here is that our mind does play games, and that is why it's very hard to differentiate between the two. And mind actually strengthens as we meditate and do inner practices. So it is, we have to be more careful as we grow and mature in this vertical growth. And that is why in his book or books, my grandfather always talked about the ego and how the ego twists the reality in so many ways. And humility is so important. So humility is actually an inner strength, which keeps ego at bay. But what happens is that when we humility actually increases as we go through a lot of difficulties.
Yeah,
it's a very so a lot of inner growth also happens when we go through tough times and tough situations, because that is when you most reflect on what you're doing right or wrong.
Yeah.
But if we keep our meditation practice and what we hang on to, our beliefs and values, close to us, then that gives us the inner strength to walk that path.
Yeah. You say as we awaken, so the ego almost gets more challenged, or the voice gets louder.
Yes,
threatened.
always. Because see, as you grow, so you will have to. So, I mean, I don't know if this is a Eastern thought or it got to be more universal than that. Like, you have to keep your physical strength, you have to keep your mental strength, right? So I call it physical resilience, mental resilience. But then to operate our brains in a very effective and efficient way, and that's like no resistance concept. We need to tackle our stress. Our emotional regulation is absolutely a very important part of it, because emotional clouds are, what are making most of our mental blocks. So once you do that, and there is this mental resilience gives you tremendous mental powers, or the capabilities that were not there now start appearing to you because those clouds disappear. What happens next? Ego. Any power, and you can see that today at display, any power, money, status, talk about countries, individuals, cultures. First thing, you get power, you want to demonstrate that power. That is, spiritually speaking, that's the slippery slope that a lot of people slip down. I mean, and now that we're talking about this, so when I used to read my grandfather's books as a kid, and I'm talking like, maybe teenager or, young adult, every now and then he brings the ego. It's like ego in context of this, ego in context of that, ego in context. And I'm like, why does he continue to repeat again and again and again the same topic? And now I understand. It's like, it's ego is almost morphs into so many things. So even when you are spiritually very strong, and that to me means like you're mentally resilient, you can, the ego can come in so many ways at you. So the final horizon, my grandfather says, for you to attain that higher awareness, higher consciousness that everybody talks about, is your ego.
Yeah. So that's awareness of the sort of tricks and things that it sort of throws at you and how to manage that.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you, Tom. This was very nice talking to you, and you're always welcome. The link remains the same, time remains the same. It's a community that just, is always open.
Thanks a lot. This has been really helpful.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for the space.
So 11:04. So today I wanted to make two announcements. One, next Saturday, I think 2 p.m. Eastern, we will have a new format for beginners. We're calling it a Satsang Masterclass. The idea is to introduce some new services that we are bringing in. So Yuan, if you could play that 2-3 minute video that I made just to introduce these services. So basically, one orientation course for 1 week, another 5-week Satsang Foundations course, and then a 8-week or so coaching, one-on-one. That's what we have been working on for quite a while. So, yeah. If you're wondering what's exactly inside the beginner's toolkit and how much commitment does it really take, think of an ocean. You can splash at the shore or dive for the pearls. You can choose the depth. We provide the oxygen. So option 1, 1 week exploration. We call it the surfer. Commitment 1 hour a day for 7 days. Best for the curious skeptic or the busy professional who needs a test drive. The experience is, we'll start with an immersive weekend, followed by a week of orientation. The support access to the Circle of Light community, daily micro challenges to keep you consistent without feeling overwhelmed. And the goal is to feel the first shift in your inner weather. Second, the snorkeler. the 5-week white glove service that we provide, 5 weeks, 7 to 10 hours a week. Best for those who want to build a sustainable habit with expert hand holding. Experience everything that in the Surfer Tier Plus, our Satsang Foundations course, a 5-week structured step-by-step roadmap. The support, interactive weekly workshops, live Q&A sessions to clear your doubts in real time. And the goal is to move from trying meditation to living with clarity. Third is the deep diver, 90-day transformation, commitment, 3 months, 7 to 10 hours a week. Best for the serious, committed seekers to a total mental and spiritual reset. They experience the full curriculum for the surfer and snorkeler and deep work principles. The support, personalized coaching for accountability, and signed copy of the Life Quest Volume 1 book, Build Phenomenal Mental Resilience. The goal is a permanent internal shift that changes how you show up at work, at home, and for yourself. So whether you surf or dive, the objective is not to escape the world, it's to navigate it with calm, steady heart. Which level of depth feels right for you? Just go to ramashram.com, Beginner's Toolkit, and choose the surfer, snorkeler, or diver, and we will begin your journey with full hand holding that we can provide. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. So I think I'll send out, especially Biju, I think we were talking about, so I think maybe you can sign up for the, 1 week or 5 weeks. I think I'll send you both the options to everyone, actually. So the idea is this is for others, quote unquote, mostly because beginners can get grounded and we can, but most of the things discussed there, we always keep discussing here in the workshop, but it's more structured in the sense, more sequence. So yeah, I would send the email out, sign you up for starting this Monday. But I'll have the master class next Saturday and then start that cohort the Monday after. So that's the whole idea.
That'll be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So how are you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, it's always however long you do this, you just realize, at least I realize that so much more to, especially when you talk about the higher self, or that word that you use, it's even if I can experience it for a minute sometime in my life, it'll be wonderful. I've heard others talk about that state. I just want to know what that state is, and where, yeah, it's I don't know whether I should actively seek that state, because when you run for something, when you try to get to, seems to move further and further away, or seems like it's sort of not unattainable kind of.
Yeah, it's again the mind speaking versus the intuition kind of discussion here, in the sense that I feel that we discuss two things: the inner happiness, and we can discuss that definition a little more if needed, and our behaviors. If they are moving in the right direction, trending well, I wouldn't, go anywhere beyond that, because in this practice, it's the way I think about it. It's the reason you don't need to seek that is like, when I sleep, when do I know that I had a good sleep? When I wake up fresh. And if I didn't sleep well, it's very clear as well. So the thing is that in your meditation, especially in a deep meditation like this, if there are those moments when you lose your identity, your ego, and that melts with that energy, I think those moments do come. But because, as we were discussing, there is no clear, growth path, or, I'll listen to this or I'll see this, so that keeps our ego at bay. But that also, doesn't clearly say that you have reached. So somewhere, I was very recently, I was reading Guru Maharaj's writings about this topic, and he said that, yes, somebody asked some deep question about, various different practices, and he said, yes, I am aware that if you, for example, on the Agya Chakra, or, in between the eyes, when you focus on the third eye center, the progress is more visible and more, even faster, they say. And he says, yeah, but I don't recommend it. Because very quickly it just becomes a ego thing. And I don't know, Biju, I was actually, when I was growing up very young, I used to get these yogis who had some, who were, in a spiritual path in some way, shape, or form, but sometimes very angry people, extremely demonstratively, like, if you don't do this, this will happen, kind of attitude. Satsang teaches a very, very, very different path. Takes you down a very different path. And but in the end of that discussion on that question, Guru Maharaj said that when you, in this practice, when you reach, you actually are at the destination, and there is then no question that you will know. So it's not, you see, 99% is not the destination. So why get distracted before that?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
But on this, we were discussing something in another satsang recently, was that, and I personally believe that, like, I am more for enjoying the journey, right? And if my behavior is getting better, or I don't know if I have discussed FIR with you, the frequency, intensity, and recovery time. So this is a borrowed concept from one of my classmates, Guru. So frequency of the ups and downs, the intensity, especially of the downs, actually probably too, and the recovery time. If that is reducing, you're absolutely on the right track.
Well, makes sense.
So, I mean, we all have our fair share of ups and downs and things that we are challenged with. It's not just mental blocks. They are actually physical or materialistic, worldly things that we have to tackle every day. And that triggers an internal storm at times. And how long that storm lasts is the question. Wow. So thank you, Tom and Biju and everyone else for being here. Great session. Thank you so much. And the whole idea of Beginner's Toolkit here is that we, I think this is just a beginning of a thread where a little more hand-holding, a little more deeper conceptual discussions, because sometimes people come for one session and, how do you evaluate this is for me or not? I think for me, I think it's at least 2 to 3 weeks you practice, then you decide. All right. So Arvindji, what's the actually Onkar? Any wrap up thought before we look for next weekend or next Tuesday?
Namaste, namaste everyone. No, you were asking Arvind Bhai Sahab, like he is the right person to give wrap thoughts.
Arvindji.
Namaskar, everybody. Very kind of you. Really, it was a blissful event. I just consider myself very fortunate to be able to join, and one can only, speak of how this meditation, you bring the transcendental energy. Guru Maharaj used to talk about Ida, Pingala, Shushunama. The positive energy is a slow one, but the negative energy is a fast downward one. And one could feel that this meditation over time, enhances the positive energy and stabilizes the noise, if you will, in the limbic system. And there is, of course, a huge body of neurobiological evidence that supports that. But this satsang goes way beyond that neurobiological evidence. So I'm just fortunate to join. Thank you.
I think, this is a good thought. We'll keep that 1 minute for you in the masterclass. All right. On that note, namaskar, and I'm glad that we were here in Satsang. Love, light, and peace be with you. Take care.
Thanks.